dropped
Oh, yeah.
to that. They're horrible. And so we earn less. We spend fewer years in the paid workforce, and yet we live longer. And when you stir all that up, we have a lot of headwinds. And so if we can spread the word about getting started out of the gate as fast and confidently as we can with our finances, that's what gives us the opportunity to offset those headwinds. And it stinks that we have those headwinds. It does. And I hope that the more vocal women and men are, we are going to eventually change those headwinds. But for now, they're here. And planning in advance is what enables us to have voices and choices and enjoy our lives.
Yeah. And wouldn't that be nice for girls to know that in high school, to start having that message coming in that even though right now you might not be thinking about motherhood, you might not be thinking about caring for your elderly parents, those things might be on the horizon for you. And even though you think you might want to work and that you can balance full-time working and full-time motherhood, it's hard. It's harder than you think. And prepare now. Give yourself some options. And then if you don't end up taking them, woohoo, you have even more money.
It's so true. It's so true. I just joined the board of the National Endowment for Financial Education. And one of the things that we're trying to do is get financial literacy into as many high schools and colleges as we can. And the barrier really is that education still is determined so much at the state level and then also at a local level. And so it's very hard to kind of just put in a nationwide program or mandate, but I'm thrilled to see that the trend is moving much more towards that kind of education early on. And I'm also starting to notice more and more employers offering financial well-being workshops or seminars as part of their employee benefit packages.
Oh, nice.
So, that's been really interesting to me. That's really been a trend only in the last 3-5 years, and it's really starting to pick up. So if your firm offers that, by all means, take advantage of that education. It's phenomenal. But it's an investment that will for sure pay off.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I'm thinking some of the listeners out there might be thinking, okay, it's a little bit too late for me, but I've got daughters. I've got nieces. I've got young women in my life who I'd like to share this information with, who I'd like to kind of, get that information in. Where can they go? What kinds of information can they share with the younger women or the girls in their life to help educate them?
So, and I'm saying this without an ounce of self-promotion. I'm saying this from a place of an incredibly deep desire to help. My best girlfriend and I from business school wrote, 10 years ago now, and it's been updated, a book called On My Own 2 Feet, A Modern Girl's Guide to Personal Finance. And if I do nothing else for the remainder of my life, that will be one of my proudest achievements, because Sharon and I, my co-author, we're now getting emails and like it's starting to become a flood of people who said, I was given your book. I did not want to read it, but the book was short and there were no multisyllabic words, and you guys didn't use a bunch of jargon, and you talked to me like I was a smart person, but in plain English so I could understand it. And I actually did what you said in the book, and it has completely changed my life. And so I would encourage people to gift the young women in their life On My Own 2 Feet. We deliberately asked that it not come out in hardcover because we wanted it to be as inexpensive as possible, so it's completely accessible. So it's less than $12, and in particular, the middle section B is on investing, and I literally think that's the best 60 pages of work I've ever produced in my entire life. And
oh, wow.
You read that, and you will know more than 95% of Americans about how to invest your money. So I think that's the single most important thing that I would recommend, because one of the hard things about personal finance is there's all the information is out there. It's all everything you need in order to craft a financially stable life for yourself is out there, but it's hidden amongst all this noise. And so trying to figure out what to pay attention to, that's the really hard part. And so On My Own 2 Feet has called away and highlighted just the stuff that you really need to know.
I like the way that you said that all the information is out there. It's just hard to know what to count on, what to rely on, what's real. I'm also thinking I'm the mom of 2 young men. They're recently not teenagers anymore. But I'm thinking that's information that I would also like to gift them. Yes, you focus on women. Yes, that's a big push. But you are correct. When I think about some of the information that they have received, when they come home with stories and you go, yeah, no.
Right.
It's
so, well, first of all, the first edition actually had Lynn Scher, who has retired now, but she was a big anchor on 60 Minutes for years. And she also went to Wellesley. And she said, if I were a modern boy, I'd put a wig on and read this book too. So the one of the things is people often ask me, you focus on personal finance for women. What specifically is different about money for women than men? And the honest truth is the biggest difference is that we have those headwinds. And so we need to start on the right foot right out of the gate. We have less wiggle room to get it wrong. If the young men in your life refuse to read a book that has 2 sets of legs that end in high heels on it, there's another wonderful book. A friend of mine, Ramit Sethi, has written. We read it almost at the same time, and his book is called "I Will Teach You to Be Rich," and we discuss the same things. But in that book, there's a guy on the cover. So either one of those would be great resources.
Good to know. Very good to know. So you are focusing on women mostly, but what are the kinds of things that you do with women? Who reaches out to you? Who is your client? And I want listeners to understand, like, if they're thinking, oh, I'd like to reach out to somebody, are they just calling up their local financial planner? Are they calling an accountant? Are they calling? I'm thinking some people might not even know who to call.
Yeah. So that's a huge loaded question. We literally could spend the rest of our chat talking about that. So I'm just going to cut right to the chase and say, you want to only work with a financial professional who operates as a fiduciary. That means they have a legal obligation to put your interest ahead of theirs in their firm. And you might be saying, well, don't all financial professionals have to do that? And the answer is no. And a huge percentage of financial advisors operate under the suitability standard, which legally enables them to put the interest of their firm and themselves ahead of you, so long as what they're offering you is, quote, suitable. And there's a wide range of flexibility around that definition, suitable. So how do you find out? You ask the person, do you operate under a fiduciary or suitability standard? They have to answer you honestly. But they don't have to disclose it if you don't ask. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that increasingly there are more options. It used to be in the old world that you had to have to access quote unquote high quality investment advice from a fiduciary. You needed to have at least $1 million in assets under management. And I've spent my career working for firms that manage money for high net worth individuals. $1 million to $25 million has typically been the group of clients that I've worked with. And so I've been so passionate about financial education and literacy because I'm like, okay, what about the other 99%? Like, everyone needs help. Increasingly, technology is enabling firms to help people at lower and lower levels of assets in a way that helps the individual and is still profitable to the firm because they're able to use technology and do video chats with the clients instead of flying out to meet them in person. So the firm I work for, Brighton Jones, for example, we historically have had $1 million minimum, but now we offer a wonderful service, and for $1,500, we'll do a financial plan for you, and for $1,200 a year, we'll manage your money. And we'll give you all kinds of other financial advice as well as a fiduciary. How much car can I afford? How much home can I afford? Should I consolidate my student loans? How much should I be saving in my 529 for my kids? Which 401k option should I select? So, and we do that because of technology. And, I'm biased. I work for Brighton Jones, so I think we're the best, but that's increasingly you're starting to see those kind of opportunities. Where I still see a huge gap is when you have no assets to manage. So if you are in, you're in debt, you have nothing to go to an advisor with, you need help getting out of the hole you're in. The industry's done a stinky job of helping people in that situation, and that's a huge number of people. So I sit on the advisory board of a group, a nonprofit called Savvy Ladies. And if people go to savvyladies.org, one of the things that Savvy Ladies has started doing is matching up pro bono women in need of financial guidance with a certified financial planner who volunteers her or his time to help them. And it's a 6-month relationship. And so it's one of the few places that I can send people who are in really tough financial pickles, such that the traditional industry where the model is you're charged on the assets you manage that are being managed and you get advice on a bunch of other things along with it, it can now get help when you're struggling.
Okay. I'm recapping this for the listeners. so I'm just hopefully staying plain. It doesn't matter how much you have or you don't have. There are people out there who are fiduciaries who are legally bound to help you and to help you figure out what is in your best interest.
And if you're just getting started as well, and some of the things I've described, you don't feel like you need a pro bono help, but you're just getting going and you just need some basic help figuring out how much you should be saving and investing, and how to pick your investment options in your employer retirement plan. Sally Krawcheck, who used to be the chief financial officer at Citigroup, has started a wonderful firm called Ellevest, Ellevest, and it's completely focused on women, not because the way you invest as a woman is any different than the way you invest as a man, but because after 30 years working in Wall Street, she's observed that women are not always given the respect that we deserve when being talked to about our money, and she wanted a place that was all about empowering women. And so that's a wonderful place. And you can start investing with them with as little as like $50 a month that you're starting to put away. And so it's a great place to start out. And they have a newsletter. They have wonderful marketing. The newsletter is called What the L, ELLE. And it's the information in there is fabulous.
Good. That's good to know. Because I'm thinking something like that for the women who might have had that divorce come, who might have kids out of the house now and they're returning to the workforce. They might feel like, wow, even though I might have known something 20 years ago, a lot's changed and I need an update.
Well, and the other thing I want to mention about getting financial advice is price matters. So every incremental 1% that you pay in fees to an advisor, or in the embedded fees in the investments the advisor makes for you, over a 30-year period, every incremental 1% eats up 20% of your portfolio. So a lot of people think the key to doing really well in investing is finding the next hot stock. It's not. I recommend that people do indexing. It's low cost. It's the financial version of eating or drinking a green smoothie instead of trying to pick all of your individual green vegetables. It's extremely low cost. And when you talk to an individual advisor, what you always want to ask after